So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm already live right now. So, like, this is the day two of our series, like, why feedback almost explains everything. God damn it. So, for some reason, it's not showing in my creative. Like, am I not live right now? I mean, I should be live right now, right? Oh, yeah, it does shows I'm live right now. But for example, the thumbnail is not the one that I decided. What the hell is happening? Okay, let me just upload it and kind of like save it because for some reason I'm live, but it's not showing the thumbnail I want. But okay, so as you know, like yesterday we learned about a feedback, like not exactly feedback. We learned about stocks, right? And like this is the series, so let me just quickly open up my book, right? And today we're gonna learn about feedback because yesterday I did told you guys that feedback is really, really important, and we didn't actually explain or got into that topic because like it took a lot of time for us to understand okay how stock functions, how stock changes itself over time, and different things like that, which was kind of awesome in itself, right? So, but today what we're gonna do is like yeah, okay. So let me just open up my stats. Okay, everything's going good. And YouTube control panel, let me just open that quick up. And yeah, let me just select my stream. Yeah, so okay. So now everything is good. Let me just send something to my own stream saying hello everyone. I guess, yeah. So we're gonna today be learning feedbacks now, yeah. And today I'm slightly tired actually because what happened? I just slept 6 hours. God damn it! I mean, like the reason for just the reason for just 6 hours of sleep is because yesterday night I just couldn't fall in sleep even though I just laid down at the bed at 11:30 or something. Maybe I was anxious about something. I don't know, but I definitely wasn't anxious. I think it was because I changed my routine and my diet, so my body was taking time to adapt. And a lot of time, at night, when you change things too rapidly, there's a lot of biological shock because your body is surprised. I mean, and then it tries to reduce surprise, and then it tries to adapt to the new condition that you imposed on it. And I think another tool was like yesterday I streamed and spoke for 1 hour straight, right? And that's not something I can do easily. Even right now, I just spoke for 5 minutes and I'm still, yeah. Over time, I'll get into the habit of this. For some reason, when you speak a lot, you feel sweaty. I mean, you literally feel sweaty. I don't know why. I mean, you feel like heat, I guess. Right. So yeah. So let's move on to the topic what feedback is, right? So this thing right here would actually explain a lot of things. For example, how markets function the way they functions, how economies functions the way they functions, how a lot of structures and a lot of things that emerges out in reality are fundamentally not what you think they are, but are just processes of feedback loops and trying to maintain themselves, right? It will allow you to explain why food, like why digestion happens the way it happens, why people get fat, why economies just burn out, why a lot of things, a literally lot of things, because like feedback will tell you why systems adapt, why some systems does not adapt, how systems maintain structure, how systems do not maintain structure. And from systems, like we know in systems thinking, everything is kind of a system, from your mouse to computer to everything. So yesterday we understand about stock is nothing but a some collection of certain specific states, material systems, anything, and how these systems are like collection of systems, you can say, like in terms of just basic stocks, right? Actually influences other stocks. So, for example, you have food. If I eat the food, that increase my energy expenditure, right? So it's like food influences my energy expenditure. So food influencing, like there's a stock which is food and consumption, which is the process happening, and which changes my energy expenditure, and how that energy expenditure changes my viewers on YouTube because now I have like this more energy expenditure, so I can give more energy to YouTube, which gives to more return on YouTube or stuff like that, right? And in ecology, and we have heard, like for example, let's take a forest, and there's only certain amount of food in the forest, and there's so many animals competing for the food. If the food in the forest becomes too little, then the animal would die because their energy expenditure and the amount of energy they need to survive would not be met. And this doesn't just work for energy; it works for company stocks. Like for example, you have a company, the sales goes up, that means you have to actually increase the production. But in order to increase the production, you must have more capital, right? So you would have more capital. So it's like you the more capital you have, because since your sales are rising, you have more capital. That more capital allows you to increase more, which increase, like, increase, like, in order to produce more, you would need more labor, more time, more machines. So now, just because you want to increase the production, you don't have to just change one thing. You just can't produce more. Now you need more labor, more time, more electricity, more resources, more, everything is now needed more, right? So the profits you have must actually satisfy this more, right? The more things that you need. So it's like the more the profit you have, the more the things you can add on, and the more the profit you will go on to make. And the more the profit you go on to make, the more you can actually improve these things like labor, machines, and time, and all that, and resources, and the more the profits you'll have. So it's like a loop that goes on. If you increase one part, you must simultaneously increase the another part, right? And if you want to increase the one part more, you must increase the another part and like expect it to increase the another. It's like a loop. So for example, we created this reality map yesterday too. Let me show you my screen. So we created like how stock could be like literally anything: company, cars, atoms in a room, oxygen on Earth, right? There's an inflow, so from somewhere the stocks come in, and then there's an outflow, right? And outflow could be anything. We actually understand about population at first, like how inflow, like for example, stock, like, in stock we have like inflow of population, and outflow is through the death of that very population, right? And then we have food. All right, so for example, like that becomes the food for, let's say, different animals. So your death is like a food, right, to creatures and to insects, and there, like, you become a stock for them. They consume upon, and then they die. And plants, they become the food or the stock for the plants. So they like eating, like as you can see here, it's like eating, shitting, dying. So it could be anything, and that becomes for plants, because like, yeah, I think these small insects they do shit a little. I mean, they do actually kind of like remove some waste from their bodies. So like, yeah, eating, shitting, dying, whatever happens to them, right? They become the food for these plants, and these plants become the food for these humans. Humans get the energy. So, but plants also get the energy from these, and these organisms also. But we are not actually thinking in terms of energy. We are thinking in terms of connection and how these connections are made up, right? So it's like how one stock constantly keep on like improving. So if I want to increase, let's say you come out one day and say, oh, Varik, I just want to increase the energy expenditure as a human that I have, like, what would I need to do, my friend, do, my buddy? And I will say, in order to increase this small thing here, in order to increase, okay, let me just change the pen size actually, by the way, guys. Yeah, this is what I kinda, actually, this is way, oh, this last one was way better. Right. So if you come to me and say, okay, Varik, how can I control shift Z? Yeah. So how can I increase my energy expenditure? And I would say, buddy, in order to increase the energy expenditure, all you have to do is you have to increase the amount of food that you eat, right? Which will simultaneously increase the amount of shit that you do, which will simultaneously goes back to the plants once again sooner or later. But we are not thinking about that. You just have to increase. And for that, if you are increasing the amount of food you need, you must need enough amount of plants out there in the environment, like, so they don't vanish. Like, you need more plants in the ecosystem, right? But since you're one human, and even if you consume more, don't worry. We have entire economies, we have entire companies producing a lot of food for us. So you don't necessarily have to worry about that, buddy, right? So, yeah, so everything's all right, right? I mean, yesterday there were some things that I didn't got all right. So, concept today would be like, yeah, we're doing a revision. Oh, yeah, day 2. It's not day 1 anymore. Day 2 concept, we have integrated one concept. If you can look at the top left corner, and we have yeah, so I think, yeah, okay, right? So yeah, guys, so this was a revision of, like, yeah, so there's like stock, there's flow, inflow, and outflow. Like, stock takes times, and now there's a concept of delay, right? So what is delay, my friends? So delay is like a simple concept which says that stocks takes time to change, right? And this is what called delay. So for example, if you have eaten a lot of stuff for the last month, you have a fat belly, right? And you have stored energy, right? That means the stock have accumulated over the past. If you have like if you are, let's say, working on something, or let's say if you're collecting stones, or if you're collecting food for the last couple of months, let's say you are a hunter gatherer and you're collecting food, what happens over time, my friend, is like you have created a stock. So for example, for the last 5 months of actually collecting food, you have enough food for now for about a 1 month to do nothing. So if for the 1 month you do nothing but just eat the food that you have collected, nothing happens to you. This is what creates a delay, right? So for a 1 month over time, because of accumulation that happens of stock, like, you can now actually just sit back and relax. Let's say the same goes. I give an example of muscles too, right? So for example, let me show you something. I mean, I know I'm flexing, but it's fine. So yeah, you have muscles, right? We all have muscles. If you go to gym or if you do some sort of activity, let's say you're studying for the next 4 or 5 hours and you have a stock of neurological states that can allow you to study and get in a flow state by studying for 5 or 6 hours a day. Like, say that's common for you, right? Like, it becomes a stock. So over time, even if I don't actively, let's say, go for a gym for 1 month or 2 month or 3 month, nothing's gonna change much. And if I've been doing gym for, let's say, 10 years, then even if I just skip for a couple of months, nothing's gonna change much, right? This is the edge that we have, and this is what we call delay. Right. Let's say you're studying for 10 years and one day you say, okay, fuck, I don't want to study anymore because I have other things to do, right? So even then, you can't sustain a lot of study. So let's say you didn't study for 6 months and you come back to studying. It will take a couple of time because the brain just needs to switch context in. But after some time, you would be able to do what you were able to do in the past. But like, yeah, even then, like the neural strength thing, like, the strength between neurons do decay. Like, because in neuroscience, we have this one thing, and then not just in neuroscience, but in psychology too. Like, you are whatever you repeat. The neurons that fires together wires together. So over time, if you really stop doing something, the stock in your brain about like neural connection would actually decay for real. So you shouldn't stop for a couple of years, right? You should just stop for a couple of months because that's the only delay you have when it comes to like doing gym for about a decade. Like, you can stop, but yeah, remember there's only a limit to how much you can stop before like stock starts to decay, right? So that's what we understood. Because, and this happens because stock takes time to flow, right? Yeah. So now we finally need to come back to the concept of feedback, right? How systems run itself through feedback. Now, this is where it all gets interesting because if you just move slightly bit and right, come here, I guess. How much is my zoom generally? My zoom is about 42%. Okay. If we just come here and let's close the daily now for a sec. Systems of information feedback control are fundamental to all life and human endeavor. From the slow pace of biological evolution to the launching of latest space, everything we do as individual, as industry, or as society is done in the context of an information feedback system. Now, this is actually pretty true, right? So, other than our age, when I start. Okay, so this is what they say. When a stock grows by leaps and bounds or declines swiftly or is held within a certain range, no matter what around it, it's likely there's a control mechanism at work. In other words, if you see a behavior that persists over time, there's likely a mechanism. This makes absolute sense. The mechanism operates through a feedback loop. It is consistent behavior pattern over a long period of time. That is the first hint of the existence of feedback loop, which is kind of true. So I'm gonna explain this. Don't worry, within a range that is acceptable to you. Merge from information flow. Balancing the proposes whatever direction of change is imposed on the system. If you push a stock too far up, we'll try to pull it back down. Hmm. I think, yeah. So there are a couple of concepts like balancing a feedback loop, reinforcing feedback loop, and feedback in itself. So we would be starting with feedback, and but before feedback, we need to have control mechanisms, right? And this is actually the best part of the book. I think I'm actually thinking of buying a Vacom or Webcom or whatever you call it, the one that allows you to write with a pen or something. So I can have a Wacom connected to my screen, so I can just literally write rather than drawing it all from my mouse. Because we all know, like, drawing it from the mouse isn't really that satisfactory, right? Whatever though. Right. So yeah. So let's just come here. Let's just get our. So for example, imagine there's a stock, right? So we can have anything, but before we have anything, we can need a. Can we have Excel here? Okay, that is fucking Excel. Are you shitting me? Whatever. Okay. So yeah, let's have money. All right. So let's take money for an example, right? So now you'll say, okay, Varik, we are taking money. So what about money? And I'm like, yeah, money is everything, right? Like your everything is money. Fuck money. Okay, just joking. Just joking. Okay. So I don't know. So just imagine we are trying to maintain money. Right. We are trying to maintain money. How do we maintain money? Right. Now you'll say, okay, Varik, we maintain money by earning money and by expending like by spending it, right? So for example, think of like we said, like there's an inflow and there's an outflow. So now we have an inflow and then we have an outflow, right? I think I'm gonna say this in between, even though we are discussing such a big topic. I'm gonna say it again. It's like if I generally continuously actually upload all this video about thinking in system and all that, I mean, like this entire book explanation, because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is like reading the book and explaining it to you guys on live on stream. It's like there would be hundreds of books. At one point, I'm telling you, on YouTube, this would be like one of those series that you can actually apply on business, economic science, behavior manipulation, like mass media manipulation, or all of different kind of stuff. So no matter what you are, these are the laws beneath laws. These are the meta laws that these actually series talks about. It's useful for everyone. And now you'll say, okay, like how is it useful? Because this talks about the fundamental laws that everything follows in a very simple way. And then you do not even read the book. You just get a simplified version of it. That means you save a lot of energy, time, and things like that. And it's way better than education system. So if you are someone who actually watched this series or got recommended it by, let's say, maybe ChatGPT, maybe some other YouTuber in the future, and you are from the future, then make sure you like and subscribe. I mean, like, yeah, and watch some other stuff. And in the future, I'm gonna have some simple basic videos coming out too about explanation of how the world functions. Not a live stream, but yeah. So if you are watching and if you are interested in these kind of stuff, love you guys, like love you for real. But okay, currently I have 0 views, 0 chat rates, 0 concurrent views. So I get it. Not gonna happen too far in the future, but yeah. Okay, so we have money, like here, as you guys can see. So we have money. So what is actually maintaining the money, right? So this is a stock that we have. So what is maintaining this little stock that we have, right? Like, okay, this money stock that we have. So we are maintaining this, and this is what exactly what they talk. If you look at here, if you look, it says about a control mechanism. So it's like when a stock grows leaps but by leaps and bounds, or declines swiftly, or is held within a certain range, no matter what else is going on around it, it's likely there's a control mechanism at work. So what Tanila is pretty much saying, like she's not saying something really smart. What she's just pretty much saying is like, okay, if you have a stock, and let's say I have a stock, and if let's say um, okay, let's say the stock is held within a bound. So let's say 400 between to 800. Right. So within this bound, okay, let me just get that L105. Yeah. So if this stock is within 400 to 800, that means like something is trying to keep the stock, keep my money within this acceptable amount. This is acceptable to me. So let's say, for example, the inflow is me earning the money, of course, at this point. So I earn money, ERN, and then I actually spend money. So it's like spend, SPND. Okay, no, 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 nobody. Enter SPND. All right. So I spend money that, like, let's say I earn money, and that give me about like, yeah. So that give me about 400, like let's say $400, right? And I spend like sorry, I earn money and they give me about $400. I spend the money and now I have 250 left, right? But I do not want $250. I want 400 to $800. So I earn 500 more, right? So it's like I'm keep on earning, right? So it's like if I just open my daily note, it's like I had 250. I had 250, and then I realized, okay, I don't want 250. I want, let's say, I want 450, right? So I earned for about a week. Like I worked hard for a week, right? And I got that. And then I realized I want more, so I worked for 2 weeks, right? I worked for 2 weeks again, and this time I got A50, right? Let's say A50. Right. But then I realized, okay, I do not want that much, this is surplus. I realized, okay, let's just go to a vacation and let's just don't work for 1 week. And after not working for 1 week, we have, let's say, 650 or something. Right. So here you can look that if the stock is too little, we work hard. If the stock is too high, we don't work at all. This is the control mechanism Danella is talking about, and this happens everywhere. So for example, take this phone. Take this phone. If the battery, right, if the okay, I got a notification. What? From whom? Okay, I got a call from my dad, but I don't think it's an urgent. Okay. But yeah. So as you can see, here's the main thing is there's control mechanisms. So for example, take this phone, there's a battery, right? So if the battery is too high, right, I'm gonna like, okay, I don't need that much battery, I'm just satisfied with 30% because I don't have time right now and I have to go to office. If the battery is too little, I'm gonna, oh, let's just fucking charge it, right? So I am maintaining the battery. Now if this, like, if I treat this thing, this mic right here, like from which I'm speaking, if I treat this badly and if I just like throw it somewhere, like I'm maintaining it, right? I'm maintaining its sturdiness. For example, these mouse, like there's a battery that this mouse takes, there's this keyboard, right? There's this laptop and I need to charge it, right? So I'm maintaining, you can see I'm literally maintaining these stocks, right? From the boat to the books. Okay, books and boat, you don't need to maintain them as long as like you don't actually throw them into the dirt and there's no insect, like no one's gonna eat the book or something. It's not gonna, like, get decomposed or something. So like, yeah, but there's this water bottle, right? The water bottle is right now empty because since the start of stream I've like literally drank a liter or something. But I'm maintaining water levels here too because we, like, yeah, in the bottle too. So let's say in the dustbin, there's a limit, right? So if it's too much, like I have this dustbin right here. If it's too much, I maintain it too, right? So if it's too much, I throw the stuff, like throw all the, like there's a small dustbin here. I take all the stuff out of it and throw it into the bigger dustbin, right? And if it's too little in it, I don't do anything. Like I'm literally maintaining so many stocks right now. I'm maintaining the amount of trash in a dustbin. I'm maintaining the battery level. I'm maintaining my energy levels by eating the food. So for example, come back to reality map, my friend. So for example, we can do the exact same thing for everything. Like for example, it works in literally company, society, economy, everywhere. It's everywhere. So we have energy. Like, okay, now you'll say, okay, Varik, what is the inflow? And I'm like, buddy, at this point you should know, like, yeah, what is the inflow to energy? The answer is simple. Food. Right, what is the outflow? Like outflow could be anything, like playing sports, doing sex, like literally anything. So we don't have to like think much about it. But I'll still, right. Let's say energy expenditure is, let's say it's playing football. Like, yeah, that's the. So now this is what we got as food. Okay, let's just connect them and make them beautiful because who doesn't like beauty? I like beauty. You like beauty. Everyone likes beauty, right? For some reason, it's not becoming equal. Who cares? So you have food, which comes like, you have food, which is the inflow. Energy is like the stock, and the outflow is like football, sex, um, basketball, gym, studying 4 or 5 hours a day, like going for a run, talking to friends. Yeah, that takes energy. Speaking on a camera on a live stream for about a 1 hour straight. That's another take energy. You know, so yeah, so you have all this kind of like food, energy, like, yeah, so you have this mechanism, and then there's different ways. So for example, take this AC example in the last video that I gave. I'll give that again because it's a good example. I'm maintaining you. So you have the controller here. I am maintaining the amount of cold. So for example, if it's too cold, like, I increase the temperature. If it's too hot, I decrease it. That's what I'm pretty much doing. Right. So I'm maintaining a room temperature here so that I could effectively maintain, but you're thinking, okay, AC is maintaining. No, I am maintaining the AC. I am maintaining a level of stock using that AC in the room, and the level of stock in this room is like the air, the cold and the hot air, and I'm maintaining a certain level of it. But why am I maintaining that? I'm maintaining that to maintain a body temperature in my body. I'm maintaining something else to maintain something else. Seeing the connection? So for example, let's say if there's someone out there who's actually have a farm, they're maintaining the water level in the reservoir, like in the tank or in the storage. They're maintaining the water level not because they care about the water or anything, but they're maintaining it so they can always have enough amount of water they can actually give to their crops. They're maintaining water to maintain a good growth of crops, right? And they're maintaining crops to maintain a good amount of money in their bank accounts. See, so imagine you maintain X thing to maintain Y thing to maintain Z thing. So for example, you maintain, I'll repeat it again so that you get it really nailed in your head. You maintain water to maintain crops. You maintain crops to maintain money in the bank account. You maintain money in the bank account to maintain social reputation, to survive. See, there's a chain of events. That there's one thing you're doing, and there's multiple things you're doing in response to that, and you're just constantly trying to maintain something. All right, so I think you get that part. So this is what exactly, and this, how systems run itself is what we call feedback, right? To some degree. So if this is a feedback loop is formed when changes in a stock affects the flow into or out of the same stock. So a feedback loop is, so now this is what we call feedback, right? How stock maintain itself. So for example, right now we were looking in terms of humans, like, we were looking like, how humans maintain stocks. But how about we start seeing as how stock maintains itself? Now, this is where it gets interesting. Rather than saying that, okay, there's a human that maintains money, how can I say, money maintain itself within bounds, which is 400 to 800, by using a control mechanism called a human? See? So, for example, how about there's a human that maintains circadian rhythm, but by using charismatic nucleus, right? But how about by constantly exposing itself to sunlight? How about we can say charismatic nucleus in the brain maintains circadian rhythm by exposing itself to sunlight. All right, so it's not you who are maintaining it. It's just the sunlight is maintaining some sort of circadian rhythm in it, right? So it's not the money, it's not that you are maintaining the money. It's like money is maintaining you. Sorry, it's not you that are maintaining the money. Money is maintaining itself by using you. If that makes sense, right? It starts to, because right now we are actually looking the reality from the stock perspective, not from a human perspective. We have shifted the perspective at all. Like, we are not sitting as a human thinking that, I am the someone, or I am the person who's maintaining the money. What we are pretty much doing is we are saying, okay, money is being maintained by us, but it's not that we are maintaining the money. Money is maintaining itself within certain bound by using you, right? So this is So I'm not, and here's the thing: how does money is affected? This is where the feedback loop are birthed. So, for example, the stock levels influences the behavior or the control mechanism. That is a feedback loop, right? So, for example, how is it loops? For example, loop is I'll open up the tab. It would have been really good if I had a webcam. I will get that in the next stream, or maybe by in 3 or 4 days. Within 3 or 4 days, don't worry. But so, for example, we have money, right? We have money, and so let's say there's a stock, money right now is 550, right? And it gets decreased to, let's say, 350. Now, what happens? There's some human out there. There's some human that says, okay, let's increase it. Right? So now it becomes 650, right? Or yeah, now it becomes 650. Right, and that's good. So now you see that the 350, the money in the bank account or the money in your wallet, right? You were the one who increased it, but on the basis of what do you increase? You increase when it got decreased, right? So this number, if this number, the range is 400 to 800. Right. So this number, if it numbers is not acceptable, the stock itself is influencing the behavior. If the stock is too high, let's say now it increases to, let's say, let's say it increases to, okay, what's happening? Okay. let me just put my mic slightly aside, right, so that I get more space to write. So it increases to 950, right? So now that is not acceptable to you, right? Or to yeah. So now the stock changed, and now your behavior. Okay, now you say, okay, let's decrease it. Like yeah. So that's pretty much it, right? You're starting to realize what I'm trying to say here from a basic, I guess, understanding, right? So if the stock, so now what's actually maintaining the stock is like if stock is not acceptable, if the stock decreases, there's a control mechanism, which right in this case is a human who tries to increase the stock. If the stock is too high, there's a control mechanism that tries to decrease the stock. Something is increasing it, something is decreasing it. That's how it maintains itself. Wait a sec, I'll be back in a minute. Hello. So I'm back. Okay. So yeah, actually, my mom called me. She had some work. So like yeah, but I mean, I would if you're watching, I think I should actually create a like from this live to something that people can watch. Right. I mean, rather than just making it live, it would be better if I could actually like, make it into like cut out some part where I'm like, because life has its own, like, meaning, because when you're alive people can ask you questions, but when you're not live, they definitely don't have the time to wait for you and your stuff, I guess. So like, I need to take washroom to go to washroom to and stuff like that. So yeah, so I should cut that in the videos if I make them. So in live, I explain books, read books, but I would cut out the part where I'm reading the books, right? And I'm reading or something. I would just, like, yeah, so that people could get the summary of the book, not just summary. I mean, understand all the concepts and make mental model of reality that actually gives them edge in the market, society, and civilization, I suppose. Right. I think I should get out at least 20 streams, or I should change the time of the stream. Because what I do realize in the morning, no one's watches a stream, especially if it's about education, right? So no one's free in the morning. That's why I think I should shift the time to the night, right? And read some stuff in the morning, go in the night and explain it on a stream live or something. Like that may work out really well, honestly. But yeah, I don't know at this point. Because I'm not getting any views, and the reason why I'm not getting any views is because I think systems are nested within systems. Unless changing an element alters and changing relationship at the purpose, stock and flow. Oh, this is like the basic structure at the start, right? I think we are already on the feedback. Yeah. We are already on balancing feedback loops. It's fermenting. Yeah, so this is where we are actually, right? So like I was saying, right, I did actually explain before leaving, so let me just, yeah. So yeah, so there's like feedback loop is nothing but when you have like when certain changes or certain changes in stock influences a control mechanism that tries to constantly keep the stock within bounds, or from bounds I mean 400 to 800, right? So that is there. There's so much. Like, how could I influence my do not disturb to make sure that I get calls, but I don't get a. So I guess if someone, oh man, yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Mm, I think So I'm back, guys. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Okay. So like I said, so this is how it functions. So how this is how stock maintain themselves by using like control mechanisms. So if they decrease too much, like something increases it. If they increase too much, something decreases it. Simple as that, right? So this is what we call feedback. And if this process keeps on happening again and again, we start calling it feedback loop. That's pretty much all there is to it. So if this process, if this right. Okay, OBS disconnected, reconnection successful. But don't tell me if that would cause a big problem for my stream, right? That's not gonna cause any big problem, right? Don't tell me it's gonna start streaming something else entirely. Okay, that is good. And thumbnail is not what I like, so let's just change that real quick. Okay. Yeah, I think we got it. Or are we having a... Okay, we got it. The better thumbnail. All right, so we are live, man. Right. I think changing the time of the stream would kind of like bring in a lot of viewers, honestly, because it's kind of hard. Not even 5 views. I mean, like one view would have done it, but yeah, just one view, just one view. YouTube, what are you doing? Are you not even recommending the thing? Like, I literally think they're not recommending this stuff. Damn it. Ha. Okay. So now there's reinforcing feedback loops and then there's balancing feedback loop. Now this is where it gets interesting. So for example, this is like the money maintenance, like this is a feedback, right? So there could be any form of feedback. So for example, like if money reaches 800, there's a loop that increases it to 600. Sorry, there's a feedback loop which actually increases it to 1000. If it reaches 1000, there's a feedback loop that increases to 1200. If it reaches 1200, there's a feedback loop that increases to 5000, to 10,000, to 100,000, right? This is what we call reinforcing feedback loops, where stocks is continuously increasing over time, where outputs of the stock feedbacks as its own inputs, which actually gives the more output. I'm getting called again. Damn, this time today for some reason everyone's calling me. I'm back, guys, and I know it's getting bothering at this point, continuously leaving and coming back. Right. So where were we? So we were at how reinforcing a loop happens. So it's like how it's like 800, and then it kind of like, so it's like you have 700. That 700 goes on to become like 900 or something. So it's like if I were to draw, I think, because I think I definitely need a wacom, but it's like if I like if it's 700, it becomes 800. If it's 800, it becomes 900. If it's 900, it's become 1,000, and it just keeps on increasing. Like, let's just take x plus 100, which is we can call y. So it's just like keep on increasing in that way. So it's like x plus y, x plus y plus y plus y plus y. It's like, so it's like, and then it kind of like keeps on increasing. So it's like x plus 4y, and in a x plus 5y, and then it like becomes a sequence, and then it starts to merge into mathematics, like the changing. So if you are a mathematic guy, you can have a lot of complexity going on here and calculating, but once again, this is designed to understand reality, not to solve mathematical questions. So like, yeah, which and reality do happens to have a lot of mathematical like representations, or it's just that math have ability to actually represent a lot of reality mathematically in itself. So that also there too, right? So this is what happens. All right. And yeah, there's a stock, there's an inflow, there's an outflow. Feedback loop is a close change of causal connection from stock to a set of decision or rules or physical laws or actions that are dependent on the level of stock, back again through the flow to the change to stock. Stabilizing loop, balancing loop. Yeah. Now look at this, guys. Look at this, guys, right? This is actually something really awesome. So what Donella does is like, she's like, okay, so there's stored energy in the body. As you can see, we have stored energy in the body, definitely, right? So, and there's like energy available for work, right? And there's like energy expenditure, which causes like the stock to go out. So what she does, or what she's trying to do, is like there's discrepancy, like the gap between what the energy is, and this is how, like, this is what we actually, oh yeah, this is, oh man, I could have actually used the word discrepancy, right? I think a lot of people understand that word. If they don't, that's bad. But you can see, like, if I were to describe, equals a gap, right? So for example, like the four, like you have four, like this is what we want, like within the bounds, we want like the energy levels between 400 to 800. So if there's 350, there's discrepancy. That means there's a gap between what you want and what there is. If it's 950, there's a gap between what you want and what there is, and you correct that gap through feedback by knowing, okay, it's not within bounds. And if that correction keeps on happening again and again, we call it a feedback that loops, hence feedback loops. That's it. All right. That was oh my god, that was a really good way to explain all this. So you have discrepancy, right? So there's energy available for work, and then some discrepancy happens, and because of that discrepancy, like the gap between what the energy you required for the work, and then you take caffeine, and that creates a metabolic mobilization of energy, right? And that actually improves like energy, like, yeah. So this is how it functions. So you have one stock, which is energy, like stored energy in the body, energy available for work, right? Like this constantly provide an inflow. In order to increase the inflow, you take an inflow. So it's like if you were to draw it here, it would be something like so. Okay, that's just too big, right? So we could have like a coffee. Sorry, energy for work. Right, we have energy for work. We have energy from work, and then there's like energy available in the body. So it's like energy in the body, da da da, right? And how the energy in the body. So there's like phi. It comes for the work, but then you realize the outflow is not the, let's say for example there's an outflow, right? So the energy is going out, but then you want, like, the value you wanted is not the appropriate value that there is. So let's say like there's an outflow, there's like energy coming out, but you want the more energy for work, you want to increase the stock, right? So you want to increase this little kid here, right? So you want to increase this, right? So what do you do? There's a discrepancy, right? So there's a gap, not a discrepancy. I think gap is a really easy word to understand rather than discrepancy. So it's like a gap. So there's a gap. So what you do is actually you consume caffeine or coffee. So let's just say you consume coffee, to increase like your current stock, right? So coffee, that's not the spelling of coffee. Yeah. F-E-E. Okay. You consume coffee, right? Consume. Okay, that is not the spelling of consume. So you consume coffee. So what this coffee does is like, because the energy available at work wasn't within the bounds you wanted, you took this, and let me just select the gap, GAP, and put it here, and then like this line gap, right? So yeah, so and that's what it does. It like increases the energy available for work, right? Or directly, so it increases like the energy for work. So you can have this, or you can say it's energy in the body and then goes back to increase the energy available for work. So it's like how we are maintaining energy for work using caffeine, right? And different stuff and different food, right? So it's like each time the energy for work decreases, like to a certain degree, right? Let's say the energy for work decreases again, and caffeine is not good enough now because like there's only a limit to how much caffeine can actually give you energy. So what do you do? Is there's a discrepancy, there's a gap between what you want and what there is, right? So what you start doing is like you actually go back to something else, and you're like, okay, if I'm not gonna get it, that's all right, I'm just gonna work my way through it. So I'm gonna just eat some banana, right? Or you just eat some food, like, so let's say like, yeah, you eat let's say anything. So yeah, let's just food, like, yeah. So that is what you kind of call nutrition. And now that happens, so now you can actually, that increases the energy in the body once again. So if you look at it, what you're trying to maintain is energy for work, and that causes you to consume caffeine, that causes you to eat a lot, that causes like, so it's like how trying to maintain energy for work could actually lead to a lot of things. And there's sometimes, for example, energy for work is like, a lot of things. So like, where is like your energy is going? Right. So let's say, for example, it's going into gym. You go to gym, like, okay, where else, you may ask, my friend, where's my energy going? It may get into reading, right? And explaining, like what I'm doing, explaining. And okay, explaining, right? So these are the multiple things where your energy can go, right? It's going into explaining, it's going into reading, it's going into multiple stuff, right? Okay, where else does your energy go? So it's, you say, okay, that goes on to coding too, right? So you code too, let's say, for example, like me. So it's going into multiple domains, my friend. So now what happens is like, look here, you have this connects to coding, this connects to, okay, and we have like what was the file once again, right? This connects to this, and this definitely connects to this. So now you have multiple things. So you're trying to maintain energy for work because you're trying to maintain these activities, but you realize you don't have enough food. So what you're gonna do? You don't have enough caffeine to consume. What are you gonna do? Now what happens? The energy level, right? So the energy level currently, let's just assume energy level is, let's say the amount of energy level you need to maintain all these things, or amount of calories. Actually, calories is like, let's say it takes 3,000 calories to maintain all this. I don't know the spelling of calories, but yeah. So this is the amount of we can have this del, we can have this del for now, right? So this is the amount of energy you need for the work, and you're sustaining these three things. So now, and here's the main game of the entire thing. If I just take the entire thingy out of the picture here, you guys come out, please, and you can just die out, right? So if you just look at the structure, right, so you are constantly actually having these energies. So now what happens once you realize that the food is not enough, like to sustain this much amount of calories, the caffeine is not enough. So what do? Is like you say, okay, so now I don't have energy enough to actually do these three activities, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove something that takes a lot of energy but isn't really that good for me in the long run. And you can just remove anything right now. This doesn't actually advocate my values or my understanding, but let's just say I remove out the gym. Actually, no, let's just say I remove out the coding, right? So I concluded that coding is something that is taking a lot of energy and it's not worth the time. I deleted it, right? So now what happens? Now, once again, I can maintain high amount of energy level, right? Because yeah, so this is how I maintain, but there's another way, another better way. What I can do is like, I can add something called what you people would love to call, let's say, I can add what they call energy drink, right? So like, yeah, this is what you would need to okay, Damn. Or this is how I increase some, let's say, stored energy in the body to maintain. Or once again, I can do the same thing again and again. I can just keep on adding. So now I can add more protein into the diet. Let's say I start eating eggs, even though in the past I didn't used to eat eggs. So now I'm, let's say, eating eggs, right? To either like, and that's what caused me to sustain gym, right? Because you do need a lot of proteins for workout, right? So this is how I'm constantly trying to maintain energy for work, for recovery, for those certain specific things, so that I can sustain certain specific things. If energy is too low, what we do is like we have this, like, yeah, but then again, like, for example, sometimes what happens is like the energy is too high, and like, yeah, for example, I started consuming a lot of things, so energy in the body keeps on increasing beyond. So now what happens? Now what your body does, if energy is too much, it doesn't say, oh, all right, if energy is too much, let's just throw it away. Because evolutionary, food has been always hard to find for the last 3 billion, if not millions of years. Like, food is scarce resources, right, guys? Like, so what your body does, it's fat, right? If you know what that is, fats. So it kind of like stores that food in the body. So when the energy in the body is too high, right, what it does, it sends a lot of energy for the work. But in the work, let's say you only need, let's say you don't do all of this kind of stuff, like Control Z. Let's just go with one. You don't go to gym. Okay, let's just do it by that. So you don't go to gym, you don't code, you only, yeah. So it store as fat. So it stores the energy as fat. That's what it's pretty much doing. And now you become fat. See, so this is how feedback and stock functions, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, feedback loops operate in two direction. The input and the output. Hmm. Until your energy level settle down, the diagram is intended to show that the loop works to drive this. So now we are talking about balancing feedback loops here. So how feedback loops maintain themselves. I suppose that is what the Nella is trying to explain us. Balancing feedback loops are ones that actually keeps the stock within bounds, right? So if you were to say it keeps the stock between 400 to 800, but reinforcing feedback loop doesn't actually keep the stock within bounds. They just keep on increasing it, right? So if a feedback loops, right, tries to, like, like the drinking food energy is constantly trying to keep the energy between, let's say, 3000 to 3500 calories, right? It's trying to constantly keep the energy level at that point. If the energy is too high, right, or let's say, or like, it stores the remaining part as fat. If energy is too low, it kind of like stops doing some activities like coding or stuff like that, right? Like, for example, coding and like, so code and and then we have like a, well, what was it again? Gym, right? So yeah, so it's constantly trying to maintain them. So if you have code and gym, so what happens is like, if the energy for anything is like too high, right? Like if like codes and gym consumes a lot of energy, it stops doing that. That's a lot of time when you do start to do new activities. What I've realized in Indian diets too, like in Asian diets. So what they have is they have somewhere about 1,800 uh to 2,000 calories a day, which is actually true, right? And this amount of food is not enough to actually sustain 4 or 5 hours of learning, 2 or 3 hours of coding, 1 hour of gym each day. So what happens is pretty much people quit it early, but they think that they are quitting it because of discipline. But the main thing is the energy for work is not beyond, so they feel tired. After sometimes they even burn out. Right, so they burn out. That's another case that happens a lot of time because they're using so much energy and they don't have it. So the store in the fat comes like they can sustain it for about a week or two because they have stored like like fat stored fat. But what happens soon enough, like the stored fat is get used, right? So soon enough, body says, okay, the reason why I ever stored this fat was because of this. So it start using it once again. Right. So now what happens is like once the stored fat actually gets decreasing and once there's no stock left, like no stored fat left, the nothing's left, then like pretty much all obvious things happens, right? So if this decree gets decreased too much, you finally would run out of energy to sustain these three things, right? So your brain would do something, it would get burnout and it would reduce something. Let's say it would cut codes or let's say cut gym, like the things that consumes the most energy and is the least addictive or the least impressive to you would be the first one to get out. All right. So so yeah, so that's how it functions. But you can actually solve all this if you actually increase the energy for work like that you're trying to maintain. So what you can do is like you can say, okay, if this doesn't work out, it's all right. I mean, all I have to do is just okay, is increase the bound. I can to increase it to almost 2,800. I think that is viable to 3,200. That is like how much you would need. Like, okay, not 32,000. That is not something you need at all. Right. To sustain these three activities, according to some basic nutrition science. Yeah. So this is what we call balancing feedback loop. Balancing feedback loop balance. But what sometimes happens is like when you start adding a new activity, your old balancing feedback loops push you towards to maintain certain level of energy. That's why you are not able to sustain multiple interests or multiple habits. That's happened a lot of time with polymaths. So they got a lot of habits and they kind of sustain them, but to sustain them it requires energy, time, and effort. Sometimes they don't have time. Sometimes they don't have the energy, and stuff like that. And sometimes they are not just like like they don't see value in the things they're doing, so they quit it too. So there's value thing too. So we also have that problem too. If something doesn't align with our predictive model of reality and our understanding of it, we don't do it, right? So like there's one guy who's actually being religious for a decade and there's one guy who doesn't believe in God at all. Of course he's not going to be religious and not going to pray to God for a decade because he doesn't believe in God at all. So belief values on itself can be seen as a certain level of stock. If you believe that working hard is the only way to get successful, then you would work hard to get successful extremely more compared to those who don't. Let's say, for example, if you think the family time is also productive time because it keeps you happy and stable, then you're going to invest more in family time. But if you think the family time is useless and families are bad or something, you're not going to get it. You're not going to give that time to work. So this is also about beliefs and how belief function. So belief can be act as stocks to neurological states, which actually determine future states. So you can see, you're starting to see everything in terms of stock and feedback loop now, right? Huh. So now you try to maintain a belief that energy is used, like, oh, sorry, you try to maintain a belief that families are good by actually going out with them, right? And each time you go out with them, you actually strengthen the belief, right? But let's say you go out with them and the family actually fought with you realize that your belief that family was actually, productive time and keeps you happy was wrong. And then you stop going out with family at all. See? Uh huh. This is like how, and then she gives example of like a cooling and heating and coffee temperature. So it's like if you put a coffee in a room, like there's balancing feedback loop against keeping it within certain bounds, right? So if it's too hot, like it becomes a like normal room temperature. If it's too cold, it becomes room temperature. You can see at the graph here that she shows, like this thing here. So it's like how balancing feedback loop is emerging. So over the graph, over time as passes by, it shrinks. And like within bounds. So it's somewhere between the room temperature is from here. You can see it's somewhere beneath the 42. So 20. So it's like room temperature is 18 degrees. So over this, it's written here. I didn't notice. But it's like, so it's kind of like always like, reaching a room temperature, I suppose. This is what balancing, like equilibrium or goal seeking structures in systems, right? Can fail for information, can arrive too late or wrong place, but feedback or then can, like, fail for a lot of parts. She's like, now there's another kind of feedback loop that doesn't keep the thing within bounds. It just either keep on increasing it or either keep on decreasing it. Speaking for 1 hour straight today, huh? Feels good actually. Like, I think speaking for 1 hour is hard. Mm. So we're gonna take 5 minutes break, I guess. Just a 5 minute break. And maybe I should start streaming at night. I guess I stream really early in the morning, or maybe I should target a different audience. Like, is there a way to target? Like, because I mean, yeah, in India right now, no one's gonna watch. So maybe a different country where people are generally interested in this kind of stuff. I mean, is there a way to target a different country? I don't know. Yeah, I think I need to think about this. So I think I should add it to my to-do list. Uh, Add a task, research. No, change the screen. Change this or I do this in the afternoon or maybe the night. I'll come back in a sec after washroom. Can we even change the country that we are targeting? I don't know. But I feel if there would have been feedback, it would have been really stabilizing, honestly. Maybe I should read and only read, and if someone comes, I should actually explain. Right. But only if someone comes. Snowballing and vicious. Reinforcing feedback then. Read this thing here, guys. So, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. So what Donald is talking about is like reinforcing feedback loop. It's like when we were kids, the more my brother pushed me, the more I pushed him back. So the more he pushed me back, so the more I pushed him back. So you see, the more the money I had, the more the money I made, which gave me more the money I had. So the more the money I made, the more the prices goes up, the more the wages has to go up. If people are to maintain their standard of living, the more the wages go up, the more the prices have to go up to maintain profit. That means the wages have to go up again, so the prices go up again. This is what we call reinforcing feedback loop, guys. So it's like when this is like what a maintenance would look like when something is trying to maintain itself, right? But when you have a like a reinforcing feedback loop, I mean, I can just kind of like delve this all because it's just simple. All right, I can draw here, but I don't know how you reached here, buddy. But del. Okay, so if you come here for a sec, and then we have two, and we are like a fire. What was that? Actually, I feel tired after 1 hour of streaming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when there's no one in chat. It's like I'm recording a video or something rather than actually streaming. So, mm, I don't think so. It's a bad thing. But yeah, I think if even just one view would have been a good enough. I mean, because there's some progress, but this is like a vacuum, right? And this is like I'm not getting feedback that I need, right? I mean, yeah. If I get one view, I'll get energetic because my brain thinks this is actually worth investing energy into. Plus, I only slept 6 hours last night, so yeah. To some people, 6 hours is enough, but to me, 9 hours is mandatory. Like I said, and if you were to look at the system here too, like the more the things that you do are adding up, the more the energy you would need actually. And I think doing like explaining, reading and explaining is really hard. Whereas code stream, I think I should do code stream tomorrow, right? And I think I should think of a time or a country or something, so that it reaches other people rather than just being in my head. Reinforcing loop I found whenever a system element has the ability to reproduce itself as it grows the constant fraction of itself. This is like the interest rates and how interest rates increase, but I would have a better way to explaining that thing. The more there is, the more there is. This kind of growth is called exponential. So, for example, growth in population is exponential. So, how is population growth exponential? I was explaining that, right? Yeah, this is here. So, let's just assume that you have a about 1 million people, right? So you have about X people here, right? So you have X people, all right? This is the stock. Like, so each time there's like birth rate or something, right? So if you have like a birth rate or something, I think something changed. Well, honestly, you know what, whatever. Right, so, oh, this looks way better than the old ones for some reason. Hmm. So there's, I don't want this to open up. There's people, so it's like, there's birth rate, right, which increases the people, right, guys? There's birth rate, and then there's like a death rate. So you have stock, which is increasing and decreasing over time. Birth rate decreases the stock. Sorry, death rate decreases the stock. Birth rate increases it. So if you, let's say, have 10 people, like, you know, on the stock you have 1,000 people, right? You have 1,000 people. Over time, what happens is like these 1,000 people constantly increase the birth rate, right? Which increases the people, which once again increases the birth rate, right? So it's like which once again increases the people. So there's 1,000 people, I guess, let's just say out of 10% of the people who are giving birth. So that's 100 people give birth to, let's say, just about 50 children, right? So each time there's a birth, like it becomes 1 0, it becomes 1050. So next time, like, 1050. So it's like increase it, and then it becomes like a 1100, and then it becomes like a 1150, and then it becomes like a 1200. My mom's calling again. Wait. Okay, so for example, it seems like YouTube is against me. I've been streaming for 1.5 hours and not a single view. I mean, YouTube, I mean, like, okay. Huh. I just have to keep on doing it because YouTube is kind of. I think I should do some research on like, how the algorithm actually works. Right, because at this rate, like, I would be just putting energy without getting any feedback, and that kind of is bad. Yeah, so this is what a reinforcing feedback loop is. Like, so we're gonna continue this tomorrow because, like, yeah, I have some work to do and I'm tired slightly after speaking for more than 1 hour. But yeah, so nice meeting you guys, and yeah, it's gonna get better, and I'm gonna get the webcam in a couple of days, I guess. So that's gonna be a good thing. So everything's gonna come out all right. Yeah, and you can give your feedback on the comments too. And what do you think about all this? And what about the feedback loops and the things that we did, like here? If you can see, it kind of looks beautiful, right? I mean, we are progressing actually to a lot of degree, right? In just this explanation thingy, because like then again, I'm gonna code tomorrow, and so we wouldn't be having this thing here. But yeah, yeah, man, kind of looks beautiful, honestly. So yeah, let's meet. Um, let's meet tomorrow. So bye bye.